Welcome back to my channel. I hope that you guys have been enjoying all my baby videos I've been putting out because I enjoy it. He's like my whole world now, and so all I think about now is baby stuff, and all I want to talk about now is baby stuff. Just kidding, but not really. I thought this would be a fun video. 12 things I did not know about breastfeeding. You always think that like you know what it's like, and you like know what it's like to be a mom, you know what it's like because you babysit or you nanny, and okay, for the most part that is right, but also there are so many things like I did not know about, like being pregnant, birth, labor. Like there were just things at the end of pregnancy that I was like, hold on, what's gonna happen to me? This is just a side note. For example, I did not know what a mucus plug was until like the week of my due date, and people were like, yeah, this is gonna happen. I was like, thank God you told me, because if that would have came out, I would have been like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Don't Google that. Just wait till you're pregnant and then Google it or something. But okay, anyways, getting into the nitty gritty, 12 things that I did not know about breastfeeding or breast milk or whatever. Number 1, your boobs get ready during pregnancy. I did not know this, but my boobs like started leaking while I was pregnant, and I was like, what the heck? What is this? I haven't even had my baby yet. It's all different for everyone, but that's what happened to me. But your boobs start preparing, and you have like little milk glands in them. Like if you picture like a little clump of grapes, that's what your milk glands are like in your boobs basically. So they all just start filling up with like milk and colostrum, all that, whatever. They start preparing. So your little grapes, your milk glands in your boobs just start preparing and stretching and swelling, and so that's why like your boobs hurt and stuff like that. So you might leak when you're pregnant, you never know. I did. Number 2 is you produce colostrum first and then milk. So when your baby is born right away, you actually produce colostrum, which is basically like straight vitamins and good stuff for baby. And you produce that for a couple days, and then your milk usually comes in between like day 2 and 5, somewhere around there. So like when you first have your baby, any single drop that comes out, like even their nurses will be like, anything you get, just like put on your finger and put it in their mouth, because it's just like so beneficial for them. So you don't actually produce milk like right when your baby's born. You produce that first, and then it leads into the milk. Number 3 is your nipple and their saliva communicate. That is so amazing to me. I did not know this, but basically when a baby is breastfeeding, their saliva and your nipple communicate, and then you will start producing what they need. If they come in contact with the cold, like the common cold, whatever, as they're breastfeeding, their saliva and your nipple kind of communicate, and you will start giving them antibodies for the cold so they can fight that off. So basically, they just communicate when the baby needs something, or they get hit with like a new sickness or whatever. Like they ask your body for the antibodies to fight that, and then you give that to them. So I think that's so cool that like they can communicate like that. Like that's just so cool to me. Number 4, some of these like I found out like kind of before I was pregnant a little bit. Like I knew like a little bit, but not like the nitty gritty like all of them. But I didn't know like into the detail about these. But then other ones I actually found out like after like I was pregnant, like when I had him. Number 4, you can track output instead of input. So in this case, like Ginny was 8 pounds and 10 ounces when he was born, and then he actually had a tongue and lip tie, so he had a lot of problems feeding right away because he couldn't suck right and everything. He lost a pound and he was 7 pounds 10 ounces, and babies are supposed to like they weigh this much and then they drop a little bit, and then they usually like gain it again. So it's normal for them to drop, but like not a pound and then not like stay there. So at first I needed to be making sure he was getting fed enough because he wasn't able to properly nurse. So what I learned in my experience is the doctors and my doula taught me that you can track the output instead of the input. So a lot of people like to stop breastfeeding because they're like, I don't know how much my baby's getting and it's just really hard, but you can actually track the output, and as long as the output is healthy, meaning like they're pooping and peeing enough, and their poops and pees are the right like consistency or color and stuff like that, then you actually know that they're getting enough that way too. For example, when a baby is 1 day old, they have to poop 1 time. When a baby's 2 days old, they have to poop 2 times, three. And then by the time they're like 4 or 5 days old, there should just be like, I think like 4 or 5 a day or something like that. So that is, don't rely on that information for like if your baby's getting enough, but there is a way that you can like figure it out. So we had to track output for like a week or so, yeah, to make sure he was getting enough. Number 5 is breast milk is supply and demand. One of the biggest things I hear all the time is like, oh, I'm an overproducer, or I have an oversupply. Breast milk is supply and demand. So basically, if they're feeding more, you're going to make more. And if they're feeding less, you're going to make less. But, okay, let's say, here's your boobs, okay? They fill up with milk. Let's say they drink this much out of each. And they're constantly, then they fill up and they drink this much. Then they fill up and they drink this much. Your body is going to start to know it does not need to make this much. It really only needs to make this much because that's how much your baby is drinking, okay? So when you first have your baby, your boobs will basically produce so much because it does not know how many babies you just had. It will just produce a ton. Your body will try to produce what it can. Right away, you usually don't really have milk and stuff like that. You're putting your baby on you skin to skin and you're breastfeeding, but really nothing's coming out, but you're telling your body, hey, make something for my baby. And so then you start making milk for your baby, and then it doesn't know how much to make right away, so you're gonna make a ton, and that's why right away you leak a ton and you need to wear like the breast pads because you're leaking all the time. Your body doesn't know how to regulate how much to make. And then as things like get into a little system, your body regulates to what they need, and it'll regulate between 24 and 72 hours. Since Junie wasn't feeding efficiently, like he would latch, but like he really couldn't. Like he was latching, but he wasn't getting a lot out. So all of a sudden my milk supply just like plummeted because he wasn't getting enough out. So my boobs just like started to barely produce anything right away because they were like, hey, like nothing's coming out. I don't need to produce all this. So like slowly over a couple days, all of a sudden I was barely getting like, I don't even know how much out. And so I wasn't producing enough for him. Then his tongue tie got fixed and everything, and it was fine. And then as your baby gets older, they will feed more often. For example, when they're growing, they will feed a little bit more often to tell your boobs, hey, I need a little bit more. So the more they're like on there sucking, and even if it's empty, when it's empty, then your body's like, oh, they used all that, next time I need to make a little bit more. Does that make sense? That communication with your body takes like 24 to 72 hours. So usually when babies go through growth spurts or stuff like that, and they're feeding a little bit more, even if nothing's coming out and they drink all of it, then your body will start to make more because it's like, oh my gosh, I need to make more for them. Your body regulates to your baby. The reason why I explained that is some people feed their baby and then pump, and then their body knows I need to make that much, enough for the baby and pumping, right? And so if you're feeding your baby and then you're pumping, you're training your body to make that much. So if you keep doing that, you will have an oversupply. And some people love that and some people hate that. So if they love that, keep doing that. But if they hate that, just don't pump it all out, because if you're not pulling it all out, your body will not make that much. Number 6, you do not just stick your baby on the boob. No, breastfeeding is like so much harder than that. And like people who've tried breastfeeding like will get that. Like it is actually so much harder. You have to make sure like their lips are flanged, like they have to be like out like that. And then they can't like suck like you're like when you suck through a straw, like that's not how they suck. They have to suck like basically like with their tongue and their jaw. So their tongue like moves under your nipple and then like swallows the milk, and their jaw, basically you want like their ears to move when they're sucking, and they suck like with their jaw like out like. And the biggest thing that I did not know is you align their belly with your belly. You can't hold your baby facing up and have their head turned to feed them, because that's basically like if we were sucking through a straw like this. It'd be really hard to swallow. So you put them belly to belly and then you feed them that way. There's like different ways you can hold them. Like you don't have to do forward like that. Like you can do the football hold where their legs are back here and their head is here, or like other ones, but you just don't want them like turned like that. You want their ears and their shoulders aligned. Number 7 is your baby can smell your breast milk. So that's why babies start to like turn towards you when they're hungry. I know babies do that like naturally too, like when other people will hold your baby, sometimes they do that. That's why they start to get to know who's holding them too, because they can smell your breast milk, and that's like the most comforting thing for them. I think that's so cool. Like, at first I was like, oh, that's kind of weird, but like, that's also so special. Like, he can smell me. Number 8, I did not know this either, is your areola usually gets darker when you're pregnant. So then when your baby is born, it's easier for them to see your boob and know where to eat. And I did not know this. I know some of my friends this did happen to, and some of my friends this didn't happen to. So this isn't like happens to everyone. Everyone's so different, but in a lot of the cases, it does get darker so that your baby can see it easy, which I think is so cool, especially because, at least for me, mine didn't stay that way. It stayed that way for like a couple weeks or something after he was born, and then it went away and went back to normal. So I think that's cool because I'm like, holy cow, like my skin is changing. That's crazy. Number 9 is breast milk heals. I had no idea, like, before being pregnant, but then during pregnant, I learned all this because I was on all these mom groups, and then people would be like, oh, put breast milk on it, put breast milk on it. So literally a diaper rash, you can put breast milk on. Baby acne, you can put breast milk on. When he got a scratch on his nose, I put breast milk on it. He's, like, scratched his head before with his nails. Put breast milk on it. It helps it heal super quick. Also, just found this out a couple months ago. If somebody gets pink eye, if you put breast milk in the eye, there's antibodies in it that actually kill pink eye. So I think that's so cool. But like, if I ever knew anyone who'd have pink eye, who would want somebody else's breast milk in their eye? Like, Max would do it, or my kids would do it, but like, I don't know if somebody else would be like, hey, I have pink eye, can I have some breast milk? Because that's kind of weird. Number 10 is breast milk is somewhere between 80 and 90% water. I had no idea. So when you are not drinking your water, it's really hard for your body to produce milk. I don't know why, but I'm really good at drinking my water. I used to be terrible at it, but for some reason, like, when I got pregnant, it was one thing that if I carried around a water bottle with me, I really don't fail at drinking my water. Like, maybe once in a while I am, but like, I usually am so good at drinking my water. But number 11 is there's different stages to a feeding. This is another thing that I found out after I had a baby. When you're breastfeeding, there's like different stages of sucking for them, and then same with a pump if you're pumping instead, and it's called a letdown. So at first they suck, 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 and then you have a letdown, and then your boobs actually like let the milk down and flow. So at first it's just like not as much of a flow, it's just like little bits. And then you have a letdown, which some people can feel, some people can't feel. I used to not be able to feel them, but now I can. And then your milk starts flowing frequently, and then their swallows would be like gulp, gulp, gulp. But at first it's just like suck, 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 suck. So then when you're pumping, there's different settings on your pump to do like a faster suck like that, and then a slower, longer suck to get like milk out the most efficient. And then using those settings like correctly will help get your milk out more efficiently. Lastly, number 12 is there are different milks to your breast milk. In the beginning of a feeding, it's very like watery and not as much fat in it, and then leading into the end, there's like a lot more fat into it, and so it's a lot more like whiter or thicker than when you first started feeding. So yeah, at the beginning it's very like liquidy, and then at the end it's like a lot thicker. Okay, that was it. I just thought of one more, so this will just be a bonus one. But also, babies can taste things like in your breast milk. So your breast milk actually will have a flavor to them. Babies have a lot more taste buds than we do. So like, even if you try your breast milk and it just kind of tastes like an almond milk or something like that, babies can taste a lot more of what's in it than we can. And for the first like, I think 6 months of their life, they don't taste salt, but then after that, they can't taste salt. So I think that's really cool. I read that, but like, don't quote me on like the exact age I just said, because I'm not 100% sure what it was. I hope this taught you something. Maybe you knew all these, maybe you knew one or two, but I like doing videos like this because like more and more of my friends are having babies and like getting into that stage of life to have babies. So it like inspires me when they ask me questions to just like tell other people, because I'm like, if you have that question, then other people have that question. I hope that me being real and raw and sharing my experiences in breastfeeding helped you out, taught you some stuff. Maybe you will go into motherhood knowing a little bit more than I did, even though I felt like I knew everything. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe down there and follow me on Instagram. And let me know if there was anything else that you didn't know, or if I taught you anything. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.